And shalom, everybody, and welcome to Visual Disturbance. Whoa, here I am. I'm Brian Reese, the host of Visual Disturbance. Welcome, everybody. And today, you just seen the thumbnail, but I'm going to go back to it. Vampire woman found in Poland. I mean, are you serious? Right? So I stumbled upon this just today, and I wanted to make a quick video on it and expose it. And since it fits up my kind of the stuff that I like to talk about, archaeology and biblical stuff, and we're gonna get into some big, I just can't make this stuff up, you know. So I come across it this morning, and I was like, well, here we are. Let's just go ahead and jump into it, and I'm gonna make a show before the day's over with. So let's get into it. So the remains of a vampire woman found. The sigh around neck is the secret. So it's a sickle. It's like a Grim Reaper kind of thing. But so when you look at this, it says in Poland, the remains of a vampire woman were found nailed to the ground with a scythe on her throat to prevent her from returning from the dead. I don't know about you all, but we looking at some type of nephilim, rephaim, something, right? That's just what I had to go there. I had to go there as soon as I read it, and it gets better. Wait, there's more. So it's just unbelievable. So let's just get back into it. The discovery during the archaeology work in the 17th century cemetery in Pien village, researchers also found that the skeleton remains had a silk cap on their heads, indicating that they had high social status and a protruding tooth. Isn't that interesting? Carry on. The analysts. The leader of the team, Professor Darlis of university in the nearby city of Turan, said the shape of the barrel was unusual. He said ways to protect oneself from the return of the dead include cutting off the head or legs, positioning the deceased face down to bite the ground, burning him and smashing him with a stone. The scythe was not lying down but resting on the neck in such a way that if the deceased tried to get up, most likely the head would be severed or injured. Yeah, the people that put this body in this burial site here, they knew exactly what they was doing because there was something wrong with this woman. Seriously, something wrong. Let's get into it. Here's a theory. The records of myths about the undead date back to the 11th century in Eastern Europe. People feared that some who had been buried would come back to surface with claws like blood-sucking monsters and terrorize the living. This is what's wrong with the world today. They don't believe in the supernatural. They don't believe in the biblical narrative. They don't believe in anything to do with spiritual wickedness and principalities in Ephesians 6 verse 12 that talks about. But here I am going to talk about it today. Continue on with this. Well, that's the wrong thing. It's continue on. I got another article. This is where it's going to get interesting. So let's see here. It talks more about it in this article. A female skeleton was buried with a sickle placed across her neck and a padlock on a big toe. What in the world is going on here? I just couldn't help it. I had to dig into it. So just bear with me, everybody, because it's gonna get real. It's gonna get a little raw here, or a little rough. Either one. The vampire folklore across cultures is filled with various tips on how to keep recent deceased people from raising from the grave as an undead fiend who preys on the living. Now archaeologists have uncovered an unusual example of people using these tips in the 17th century Polish cemetery near Bogazaz A female skeleton buried with a sickle placed across her neck, as well as a padlock on the big toe of her left foot. Okay, let's get into it. I'm gonna take you just to give you an aerial view of where we're at. There's actually 2 Pien villages in Poland, so I wanted to make sure I got the right one, and I went to that Badu Gozaz little village town. So let's get into it. Let's see. So I went to it. Here we are. Here's Poland. And there's Pien, and there's a ley line. And it's, seriously, I thought this was interesting. There's 2 ley lines that would go hand in hand as far as this village. And I try to get precisely 30 miles that way and like 12 miles in the south side there. So it's pretty darn close to ley lines. So I just want to point that out. But this little village, supposedly there's a cemetery. I couldn't get a precise location or coordinates for this particular site, but I just wanted to give you all a visual of where Pien Village was, and they're so-called somewhere around this vicinity, up and around this area, this woman was actually excavated and brought up out from the ground. So that being said, what do you guys think? The first thing I think of when I see this is I think of all kinds of stuff that Hollywood has put in my head. I just want to share some things. You can go look at Highlander. Highlander came out in the 80s and the 90s. They made a show about it. They always say there can only be one. They decapitate the head, all this stuff, and it goes down a big rabbit hole with that. And then there's all these other things when you get into like X-Men and all these different movies that have been inundated in society, talking about as far as decapitating and the bodies would not regenerate, reanimate. And that's my thing with giants. I get into the whole topic of giants and all that. So I just wanted to bring a little bit more light to this, what this woman was doing, what she was, and what they're deciding what they have found. So let's get back into this article. And let's get off the Google Earth here. Okay. Tales of vampire-like creatures date back at least 4,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia. For instance, the Assyrians feared demon goddess called Lamastu, literally she who erases, who they said kills babies in their cribs or while still in the womb. Other ancient texts mention a similar creature. Drum roll. I know y'all probably seen it when I was on the screen there, but this is why I talked about it, and I thought it was interesting to talk about today. Similar creature Lilith, who also appears in the Hebrew text and folklore, who steals away infants and unborn children. Neither of these could be considered vampires in the modern sense, but they are the precursors to the Greek legend of Lama, and an immortal monster who sucked the blood of young children. Then it goes on to talk about the Chinese folklore and vampirism and all that. And then it just goes and shows this this site, and it kind of just talks about brief history about different types of things. And here's the picture here to kind of show. There's that tooth that's all messed up, and there's the sickle across her neck. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. And there's these poor people here having to excavate around her body, and I don't know if I can handle it after I found out that they supposedly deemed her as a vampire. And there it goes on to talking about particular other sites in Poland. Several skeletons with several heads were found in 2008, for example. Severed heads, I mean. For example, a body with a brick forced into the mouth and holes drilled through the legs was also found. Ways to protect against this return of the dead included cutting off the head and legs, placing the deceased face down and bite in the ground, burning them, and smashing with a stone. So I guess over here in Poland they had some severe issues with sickles, and they had to make sickles. And so it goes on here, sickles near a grave offering prevent demons from entering the body. The placement of the sickle was different. It was not laid flat but placed on the neck in such a way that if the deceased had tried to get up, most likely the head would have been cut off and injured. As the padlock on the big toe, this symbolizes the closing of a stage and impossibility of returning. Another unusual feature of the skeleton that appears to be the woman of high social status giving the care which she was buried. These were also remains of a silk cap on her head, which would not have been affordable for a member of lower class, As for why she would have been buried in such a way, they said that she was very noticeable, protruding from front teeth. This may have been have appearance different enough that she might have been deemed a witch, a vampire by superstitious locals. So yeah, this is a very highly compelling, interesting topic. So, what do you guys think? You know, I had to bring a little light to this, and especially when they this article was talking about Lilith and all the folklore, monstrous, all this stuff, Mesopotamian, and all the burials. You know, as far as the way it was buried, the sickle, and just talking about nephilim, rephaim, and what this woman was, and they went to such lengths to keep her down. She must have been full-blown possessed. I mean, there must have been something really scary about this lady. I mean, you know. So, I want to make a video of it. I know it's a little short today, but that's all I got for today. But one thing, real quick. If you guys... Well, no, let me see here. Let me see. Check this out. So I haven't got an opportunity. I'm still working on it. I'm about to finalize and get everything going so I can go live on this. Bermuda Triangle Portal, Dark Lightning, and Time Travel. It's going to be part 2 coming up soon. So just bear with me, everybody. Be patient. I'm working on it. And then also I'm working on Dan Bedoni. We're going to be doing a Spiritual Warfare Friday. I'm working on trying to knock all that out and do the revamping standpoint of it. It's super cool. And also... check this out too. So don't forget, tomorrow, 7 Eastern time, we are going to be doing a Rip It. Me, John Hall, and Dan Bedoni. And we're going to have a special guest tomorrow. John Pounders is going to be joining us for a really cool, epic, a very epic Rip It tomorrow. And we're going to be on Rumble. We have, I think John on the Cutting Edge is having some issues with his YouTube. So we're going to be on Rumble tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern time. 7 p.m. And like I said, just be patient with me. Like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit off of what I usually present on the channel, but I wanted to bring light to it since there was thrown around some biblical stuff and, you know, like the Hebrew stuff, the Lilith and all that. So I hope y'all got something out of it. What I got out of it was really creepy, and first thing I thought to myself, you just can't make this up. But anyways, shalom everybody. I hope everybody has a fabulous day. And until next time.